Chapter 23 Act 1 So, how will we know what to do once we enter mortality? I asked, sitting up straighter on the couch. Right now, taking the test sounds like experiencing the ultimate doorway effect. Izzy and Dorothea gave me confused looks. Their class hadn't reached the psychology unit yet. You know, like when you go to the kitchen to grab a pair of scissors, but once you're in the kitchen you completely forget what you came for and end up grabbing a snack instead? I explained. Their blank stares continued. Or maybe that's just me, I said with an embarrassed shrug. No, it's a good analogy, Mom said, coming to my aid. At times during mortality, you'll have that same niggling sense you're supposed to be doing something, but you can't remember exactly what. That thought will manifest as a small but persistent feeling that there's more to life than the daily grind. If acted on, that discontent with the mundane can be a driving force for growth. That still doesn't answer Mira's question, Marcus pointed out, glancing at me. How will we know what to do? We've already established the test begins with us waking up in a new place without any memories. But what next? Will we all be together? Will there be other people around? Will there be a map or a guidebook? Having a perpetual feeling you're supposed to be doing something but not remembering what that thing is sounds super frustrating. This is where Almira's kitchen analogy falls short, Dad said. You're not entering mortality with a specific objective like find the scissors or climb the world's highest mountain or try every flavor of jelly bean. There are many directions you can choose to go and still lead a fulfilling life. Mortality is an open-ended, choose-your-own-adventure story. So, any choice is good? Izzy asked, hopefully. Not quite, Mom answered. During your mortal experience, you are free to make decisions, but you are not free to determine the consequences of those decisions. Some decisions will always have negative consequences because wickedness never was happiness. Will those decisions come stamped with a big red warning sign? Caution, bad choices will lead to instant regret, long-term self-loathing, and a possible loss of inheritance? I joked in my best infomercial voice. In a sense. Mom smiled. During your test, you'll have access to several tools that will guide you and warn you of impending danger. The first tool is one you all know and love, your Neuralinks. We get to bring our links with us? Jadith's eyes widened with the most excitement she'd shown all night. Jadith was addicted to her link. I'd never seen her without it. I was pretty sure she even slept with it. You can't bring your physical link with you, Mom clarified, but you will remain mentally linked to us throughout the duration of your test. We will always be available to give you guidance, comfort, and encouragement. How, though? Lucian asked. His hands were fisted under his tightly crossed arms. You said our autobiographical memories will be suppressed, so we won't remember who you are. Won't it be weird having unknown voices ordering us around from the back of our minds? Our influence will primarily be through impressions instead of words, Mom explained. We'll encourage you toward good decisions with warm feelings of peace and happiness. Poor decisions will be met with cold feelings of guilt and sadness. Once more, Mom reached out to intertwine her hand with Dad's. During our test, this guidance system was called a conscience. Dad gave Mom a playful wink and sang, And always let your conscience be your guide. Mom smiled and shook her head endearingly. The 7 of us kids shared a moment of confusion at our parents' inside joke. They could be so weird sometimes. Did we really want to go through all this just to become like them? Let me get this straight, Lucian said with obvious incredulity. This great test of mortality, this exam that will determine our inheritance and social standing for the rest of eternity, is essentially a child's game of hot and cold? In a sense, yes. Dad nodded. Everyone who enters will be given a conscience so they may know good from evil.
But mortality is full of choices that are neither inherently good nor evil. Such choices include where to live, which career to pursue, how to spend your free time, and with whom to build relationships. There are many paths to a productive, fulfilling life. We'll guide you toward the good and warn you against the bad, but not every choice falls neatly into one category or the other.
I still don't get it, Marcus admitted. I thought we agreed the whole point of a memory-blocked mortal experience was to make decisions and exercise our free will without the constraints of our current reality. He paused for confirmation. Mom nodded at him encouragingly, so he continued. But if you're constantly in our heads telling us what to do, how exactly will we have free will? An excellent question, Marcus, Mom said with a pleased smile. Our voice will not be the only one influencing you. Mortality is a very noisy place. During your test, an incessant barrage of counsel, advice, and promotions will be constantly forced into your consciousness. As a result, you will have upward of 50,000 thoughts a day. They'll come from innumerable sources. The media you consume, the conversations you have, the biological impulses from your mortal body. Most of those thoughts will flow by without being acted upon. The real test is deciding which of those thoughts and impulses you'll act upon and which you'll ignore.
If you act upon the good thoughts, your link to us will strengthen, and it will become easier to discern our influence in your life, Dad added. But if you ignore the light within you, it will dim until it is lost. Yes, Dorothea?
Dorothea looked slightly stunned with her hand only inches from her lap. Dad had sensed her question before she'd had a chance to raise it. Will any of the aforementioned tools be tangible? Dorothea said, regaining her tight composure. Emotions are often intricate and difficult to source. I would feel much more comfortable following an external, objective guide. Another excellent question. Mom turned to Dad with a "you got this" nod.
The next tool is tangible,
Dad promised.
But it is by no means unemotional nor unbiased.
He paused, steepling his fingers.
Many of you have expressed fear of entering mortality alone and confused. That's a natural and understandable fear. But rest assured, you will not enter alone. You will enter into mortal families.
You mean the test is a group effort? Izzy bounced excitedly. Then I call dibs on Enish. He latched onto Enish's forearm. Lucian rolled his eyes. Enish gave Izzy a bemused smile and affectionately nudged him with his elbow.
I don't think that's our decision to make, Iz.
I wasn't sure how to feel about this new information. I'd never been a fan of group projects in school. Well, unless I was paired with Marcus. My teachers claimed group projects taught us important life skills like communication, collaboration, and responsibility, but all I'd ever learned from them was that I could get things done better and faster by myself. Mortality was different, though. This wasn't an oral report or a science fair poster. This was exploring a new, unknown reality. That was something no one wanted to do alone. The thought of entering mortality with my adopted siblings, even if we didn't remember each other, was a big comfort. Sure, we fought and got on each other's nerves like any other family, but my siblings and I made an excellent team when we needed to. Between Jadith's social knowledge, Dorothea's book smarts, Marcus's ingenuity, Lucian's ambition, and Izzy's bottomless enthusiasm, I couldn't think of a better team to take on a foreign new world. And that was before adding in Enish's inherent perfection.
You said mortal families, plural,
Marcus observed, pulling me out of my musings.
But there are only 7 of us. That's enough for, what, 3 small families at most?
My heart clenched at the thought of being separated from my siblings. Well, no matter how we split up, I am so not going to be anyone's mother, said Jadith emphatically. No one would want you to be, mumbled Izzy under his breath. Lucian and I smirked at each other. To be fair to Jadith, she could be a superb mentor when she wanted to be. In her rare moments of helpfulness, she had given me great advice on how to deal with social struggles at school. But Jadith was generally too self-absorbed to think about anyone else. There will be billions of families over thousands of years of human existence, Mom explained. The probability of you 7 being in the same family, let alone the same century, is slim. The smirk slid off Lucian's face. Billions of families? He repeated, looking suspiciously at our parents. Who exactly will comprise these families? I thought this was our private inheritance test to earn our portion of the kingdom. Who else besides the 7 of us has a claim on the estate?
Lucian, you've done very well with the responsibilities you've been given, Dad commended. Your mother and I are pleased with the talents and abilities you've developed, but you and your siblings are not the only ones deserving advancement. The kingdom is full of honest, hard-working people. Anyone who desires to try the test of mortality is welcome.
So, we're going to get stuck in families with a bunch of randos? Izzy asked, aghast. But what if they smell bad? Or worse, I added playfully. What if they play the bagpipes? Or chew with their mouths open? Izzy grinned, joining in the game. Or leave their alarm ringing in the morning. Or always eat the last cookie? Or leave their hair in the drain? Jadith interjected with a pointed glare at me. Mom loudly cleared her throat. You will learn many important lessons from your mortal family, including patience, selflessness, and how to love completely in spite of imperfections. Since none of you are perfect either, it will be a reciprocal lesson, she added, raising her eyebrows at Izzy and me. In an ideal world, everyone would enter a loving family who would help them become their best selves. But since everyone is free to make their own decisions, that ideal is not always reached. That doesn't seem fair, Lucian complained. How can you be expected to do well on the test if you enter into a crappy family? You'll be expected to do the best you can with what you've been given, Mom replied. But you're right, sweetheart. It's not fair. She shook her head in sympathy. And as long as you live in an imperfect world with imperfect people, it won't be fair. Fortunately, our plan comes complete with a great equalizer.
That brings us to the most important tool of all, Dad said, his voice holding the weight of our future. The gatekeeper.